I still get down to K-pop black. I had to withdraw from the fandom.
Like most black fans, you didn't realise that the racism and racial insensitivity towards black people amongst idols was so deep. These weren't just isolated incidences that would never happen again. They were in fact a cycle of behaviour that had been existing for 30 years. So you ended up expending energy, going round in circles, getting nowhere. You were too tired, so eventually you just had to tap out.
It's too much! However, I do like to check in from time to time. See how y'all guys doing? How are you guys? You guys doing okay? Alright. Nigger! Okay, I'm leaving now.
However, you have not been the only black fan to leave. There have been thousands. Researching this topic, in one afternoon, I found 80 plus videos, which span from 2008 to 2022. And the reasons that black fans give for leaving the fandom have all been the same. And when I researched archive blogs that predate YouTube from the early noughties, I have found disgruntled K-pop black fans saying the same thing. Everything in life has a shelf life and nothing lasts forever. But the fact that the black fans of K-pop are giving the same reason for departure is a cause for concern.
10 seconds, either like an idol is coming out doing cultural appropriation, another idol over here then said nigga, Korean people being racist against black people yet again, blackface, you know, N-word, all types of just terrible shit, and it just keeps happening. It feels like nobody's learning, nobody's listening, even with the Black Lives Matter movement.
As I said earlier, black fans get themselves trapped in a cycle of behaviour. K-pop idols start out by doing something offensive to black people. The black fans rightly call them out. The rest of the fandom that hasn't been slighted jump into the argument to protect their beloved K-pop idols. This leads to a race war in the fandom where black fans are attacked. Depending on the idol, they may or may not apologise. They ask people to forget it and move on, and people do, and then it occurs again with a different idol. And if you have followed K-pop for more than 2 years, you will realise that the racist or racially insensitive behaviour never changes. The only thing changing is the idol. This leads to black K-pop fans to go round in circles having the same argument with different idols. It's a tiring and toxic cycle of abuse, and no one can put up with this behaviour indefinitely. So black K-pop fans are forced to leave the fandom.
The main reason why I love the fandom is something that I don't really like to talk about anymore, but it needs to be discussed. It is the racism, sexism, and etc. within K-pop. I mean the fans who continually talk about said racism, sexism, etc.
We need to break the cycle that constructively expels black people from the fandom. But we need to go back before we can go forward.
Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start.
It's no coincidence why black people love K-pop, and there are hundreds of thousands of black males and females within the fandom. K-pop is derived from black culture and entertainment that has already been successful. in the early 90s, the most successful music genre in South Korea was trot. However, some Korean youth wanted something more exciting than trot, and they looked towards America, more importantly, Black America, for their influences. To learn the art of Black entertainment and have any street cred or swag, original K-pop idols had to invite Black Americans over to South Korea or go to America and have first-hand experience of the industry. And that is why 2 out of the 3 CEOs of the big K-pop agencies were actually performers from the 1990s, and their genres were hip-hop, rap, and R&B. The guy rapping isn't black, he's actually in blackface, and the year is 1995. JYP has done his fair share of blackface, but his biggest crime is to think he's a love child of Michael Jackson's mother and Bobby Brown's mother. To be fair, JYP genuinely does like black artists, but I believe he thinks he's on the same level while copying them. He even did a stint in a black R&B boy band, but there was something I didn't quite like. The lucrative business of repackaging Black American music for South Korea became K-pop. To expand K-pop and to make it successful, the brief that producers were given was this: whatever the Black Americans are wearing, how they're singing, how they're rapping, how they're dancing, copy it. Black American music was repackaged, rebooted for South Korea. But he doesn't realize he hurts us so much. So I choose to explain this evidence. I don't mean the rest of her body is irrelevant. In other words, let's reject it. In another universe, if JYP or YG had like Bavarian music or English punk music or the music of Hell's Angels and repackaged that in South Korea, I don't think you would have had such a large level of black people in the fandom. But the actions of some Korean idols is saying, we'll take your entertainment form, but we don't want you as people. You're not welcome. That is like handing over a birthday present to a person on the doorstep. They take it out of your hands and slowly shut the door in your face because they want your present, but not you. The black culture that has given the most to K-pop gets the biggest backlash from the idols, which means the black fans are the least comfortable within the fandom.
When these people don't give a fuck about me, when these people don't give a fuck about me or my culture, but will continuously reap the benefits from acting like they're black, from taking my hairstyles, from taking my music and my culture and the way we dress, everything. Y'all will take everything from us, but refuse to treat us like people.
Even the most optimistic black K-pop fan will have to accept that going round in circles will not change anything. And if we want to change something, we have to be that change. This would not be the first time that black people were driven out of a music genre that they created. Black people created rhythm and blues. White people appreciated it. Then they appropriated it. Then they turned it into a multi-billion-dollar business. They repackaged, renamed it rock and roll, and excluded black people from that industry. Back in the day, if you were a black fan that loved rock and roll, you would not even be allowed in the concert hall with the white fans. Contrary to what a lot of optimistic black people believed at the time, rock and roll was never supposed to be a humanitarian gesture for black people. It was 100% a business. During its heyday of rock and roll, the white management turned on black people, the white artists turned on black people, and that dripped down, and the rock and roll white fans hated black people. So there is a similarity with K-pop. However, K-pop is a lot easier to police when it comes to racism because all idols and artists belong to an agency. The problem that black K-pop fans have is they don't look at K-pop as a business. Like rock and roll, K-pop is not a humanitarian mission to black people. Black people are consumers and idols are employees. And your agencies are the employers. Like any employee, idols have to sign a contract which border on being slave contracts. But just like any ordinary contract, within that contract is a code of conduct that the idols must follow. The rules ensure you, the idol, represents your agency in a correct and proper way. The rules can be having a no dating policy, not seeing your family on a regular basis policy, not going on social media policy, being a certain weight policy, not swearing in public policy, not smoking in public policy. You get the message. And to ensure that idols stick to all the rules and codes of conduct, they have managers and minders that watch them almost 24 hours a day like hawks. You can't help but see the idols, managers and minders everywhere they go.
He's weird.
Some of the things that managers or minders have stopped the idols doing, we would consider petty. However, if these activities by the idols are breaking the code of conduct, they will stop it. That is what the minders and managers are being paid for, and if they don't stop it, they will lose their jobs. So now we get back to the topic at hand. You see, racism or racial insensitive behaviour towards black people has not found its way onto the K-pop idols' code of conduct. Managers and minders only stop the idols from doing things that are on their list. Whether an idol should know better or not is irrelevant. They are an employee of an agency, they sign a contract and they have a code of conduct. So if an idol is not breaking a code of conduct by this type of behaviour, the code of conduct has to be changed and the minders and the managers have to be briefed. Otherwise, black fans will be going round in this circle for another 30 years. Imagine that you went to a supermarket and an employee swore at you. You had a word with them and they promised not to do it again. 6 months later, you're back at the same supermarket. Another employee swears at you. You have a word with them. They promise not to do it again. You feel great about your influence, but a year's time, 2 employees swear at you and you have another word with them. This is rather like black K-pop fans chasing their tail. At some point in time, you're going to have to admit there is a culture of bad behaviour within that supermarket, and you're going to have to take it up with the management.
I made a little list here of some idols that have done these things, have done things like blackface, mock black people, said the N-word, etc. You know how it goes.
Knowing the idol's name is good, but you have to take it further to the employer to find out if that is a culture within that agency. If it's the culture within the agency, that behaviour will not stop. And if you want it to stop, you have to confront the agency. In my previous video about management, I talked about how the founder of SM Entertainment has complete contempt for black people. This has filtered down to his idols, and it's filtered down to the fans of SM Entertainment. This has been occurring since 1996, and the fact that nobody has confronted the upper management and the founder just enables the behaviour to go on, and there is no chance of this ever stopping. SM Entertainment already have a ludicrously long code of conduct, and it would take about 5 minutes to add a little addendum about black people and what they shouldn't and should be saying. The idols are briefed not to swear in any language. Just brief them also not to use racial slurs. They're briefed not to wear too much makeup. Brief them not to do blackface. Black fans have mumbled, we've moaned, but we haven't really formally complained as black consumers, and that has let the management off the hook. K-pop is a business. SM Entertainment is a business, and businesses only care if they are going to lose money, and this is where black fans have power. And we should look at this more like consumers and not fans. Otherwise, we will just be going around in circles till we get too tired and we just have to quit. The fact that K-pop has been going for 30 years does not mean it is independent of black people. The fans may think so, but it's not. They still need black people for inspiration. They still need black people for validation. They still need black people for collaboration. And we should think like consumers and make it work for us. Otherwise, the outcome is predictable.
When these people don't give a fuck about me, when these people don't give a fuck about me or my culture, but will continuously reap the benefits from acting like they're black, from taking my hairstyles, from taking my music and my culture and the way we dress, everything. Y'all will take everything from us, but refuse to treat us like people.
As I reiterate, people at the top in K-pop are business people. They're not in it for humanitarian reasons, so they don't care what they plunder from other people. They don't care that we're standing on the doorstep, handing over the present of our culture and entertainment, and then they take the present out of our hands and shut the door very slowly on us. But from a business perspective, I don't think they realise how many tens of thousands of black people have left the fandom because we've done it on an individual basis and not in a mass exodus. So they don't know that we've left for the same reason and have the same sentiments. It is about time they do know.
Do not have the energy for this racist rhetoric anymore. K-pop be using R&B and hip-hop themes in their music, wearing Afrocentric hairstyles, claiming to be inspired, then turn around, say the N-word, do blackface, sometimes without even an apology and or reflection. Honey, I live in LA and I can open my window right now and get all of that for free. Plus, almost get shot by the police because they thought my wig was holding a gun. Please, I don't need to subscribe to that bullshit.
And if people think it's no big deal, it's only K-pop, bear this in mind.
Black people made rock and roll, yeah.
Rock and roll repackaged rhythm and blues and kicked out the black fans. So we had to fight all the gaslighting to reclaim it, to give the black originators their dues. And in the UK, skinhead culture went from black people to white people to neo-Nazis that had absolutely nothing to do with the origins of skinheads. See my video on cultural appropriation of skinheads for more information.
I want all you skinheads to get up on your feet.
It is now the 21st century. We should be going forward, not backwards. And K-pop is a lot easier to police than the skinhead culture and rock and roll. Idols are employees of agencies. They have a contract. They have a code of conduct. It is easy to police what they do, how they behave, and how they present themselves to the public. It's not up to the black fans to police your idols. It is not up to the black fans to put K-pop idols straight. If an agency can tell them to get a nose job or to lose 25 kilograms in 2 months, you can tell them not to use the N-word. If you're telling your idols they can't appear nude, it is very easy to say, by the way, also don't appear in blackface. This ludicrous cycle that black fans find themselves in, taking on idols and the rest of the K-pop fandom, is unfair and it doesn't get them anywhere, and it has to stop now. And the agencies have to take responsibility for their employees, the idols. If you are the employer and these are your employees and they have signed a contract and a code of conduct and they still can do this behavior is 100% your fault. I know SM is not the only agency that has problematic idols, but they are the oldest and the most prolific. The takeaway message here is that we are fans and our hearts can be broken by our favourite idols. However, we can't forget we are also consumers and we have a voice as consumers.
Black people made rock and roll.